here, and welcome to another episode of You Dig. That's the name of this podcast, and it began at the beginning of the 2026 season, and we're going to stick with it. Therefore, any of the episodes that took place before 2026, I'm adding this little intro to keep us on brand and on point. So, let's go to this particular episode of You Dig. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Nick Lane. Hey folks, look, it's Nick Lane. He's here. What?
Hooray!
Wow. Oh man, listen to that audience. You know,
The crowd response.
Oh,
Crazy.
it's incredible. I didn't know there were that many fans of composing, arranging, and trombone playing. You know, that's
Very validating, this is.
oh, there you go. Well, okay, thank you. Can we get security down to the front? Security, please. Where's the Hells Angels when you need them? Okay. All right, now they're quiet. Nick, how you doing?
Good, Steve. How about you?
Oh, man. Well, hey, I got a full cup of Joe. And you know what? This is...
I'll join you.
Oh, look at that. You got the... All right, here's to you, lad. If you're ever in the Chicago area, we got to hook up. And as I mentioned in the email, the first 5 pints are on me. And
Definitely.
then
I'll take you up.
We'll take it from there. Okay. There's a lovely Irish pub in the neighborhood here. It's staggering distance from the house. It's right,
Handy
right
for
down
you.
the road. Yeah, right. Oh, anyway, so yeah, full cup of Joe. I'm hanging with my pal Nick. We've known each other in the periphery. I mean, we remember when we first met. We worked together on that Storm album back in the day. That was what was that? Admiral's Horn and Hitting the Head. You had a bunch of charts on that one.
Well, I brought in a song called Blasters that I thought was perfect for Maynard's band, since the trumpet
Man,
players by that time had lost all sensitivity. And he wanted to rename it. And because he was so famous for coming up with some of the worst titles possible, he wanted to name it The Admiral's Horn. And it was
well that.
really about blasting trumpets, but
Oh
they called it,
man,
and I acquiesced because I didn't really care, but still,
right.
looking back on it, it's
That's
still
hilarious.
a really stupid title.
Well, I can't tell you how validating it is to know that you did not write that title. That changes everything for me.
Well, I think I had given it out to other bands under the title of Blasters,
Oh,
and
nice.
it's gone back, and I used it in my own band, and
Oh, cool.
Blasters is appropriate for a song with it featuring the trumpet section.
Oh, of course. It's it can't be argued. It's not wrong when you think of those guys. I often compare the personality of trombones and trumpets, and the trombones are just happy to be anywhere. We're just like, man, life is great. Thanks for inviting me, man. Life is great. Trumpets, 5 minutes in, there's a fight somewhere. It's like somebody's fighting. I don't know. It's like a pub brawl or something. You get trumpets.
Oh, that's a good analogy. On sessions, it's a fight for the trumpets. It's a fight to play lead, and on the
Right.
trombones, it's a fight to play third.
That is the ultimate hang. Third trombone, man. That's talk about a chill party.
Yeah, everybody heads right for the third trombone. Trombones do. I'm sorry, the trumpets. Yeah,
Right.
they're fighting it. Yeah, they're fighting it off, so you can play the highest.
See, that's why we live so long, man. It's beautiful lives. We look great. Look at you. You look like you're 20.
Thank you, Steve.
Oh, bless you. So anyway, all right, we got a show here, I guess. This is the first video show. So, it's all the rest have just been audio. So I'm going to have to, if we share the screen or do anything fun, I'm going to have to comment for our poor non-video listeners they are using the theater of the mind.
They're only seeing half the show, aren't they?
They are, man. If they could see it. So, for instance, we look back into the world of Nick Lane. You got like a hip what is that? Vintage. I'm looking at the tuner up there. It's got like what has it got, man? A
Oh,
cartridge area for
oh yeah.
everything.
I have some gear up here that I can't get rid of, and so it starts to look like art at some point.
It does. It does. That's like the Hans Zimmer studio with the a wall that's just a Moog synthesizer. It's so cool. I've never been in it. I've seen videos. You ever worked with Hans? I'm getting off topic now.
Yeah, no, I mean, he does a lot of sessions, a lot of movies. I can't say that I have a personal relationship with him, but
Right,
I've
right.
worked on things that he's done. Yeah.
He's just my hero, man. I have you seen his live show? That is
No, I
unbelievable.
have not.
It's very cool. There's a lighting guy here from Chicago that does it. It's I'll send you a link. It's
Well,
unbelievable. But
Bruce Fowler worked with
oh yeah.
Hans for years, and
Oh, he did.
used to talk him into doing fairly adventurous things. And I think for that movie Inception, we did something with like 30 trombones or
I
something.
love that's one of my
And
favorite soundtracks.
Bruce is such a wildly creative guy that it
Yeah.
always reflected well on Hans, that he
Wow.
would have Bruce in his midst, because Bruce is truly a one of a kind.
Absolutely, man. What a family and him, what a trombonist back in the day, and now he's Mr. Film doing everything, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I mean he certainly has. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, hey, it's the Nick Lane show. So we're going to start with that little little bit like the actor's studio. I don't have blue cards, but I've got like these notes here. Look at that for folks on the video. Look, I got a whole it's the book of Nick right here. Uh
Preparation is everything.
it is. You know, on my list of priorities, A, B, C, D, that comes in at H, but that's a whole nother story. All right then. Hey, you know what? Nick Lane begins in Marshalltown, Iowa. That's where he begins, and so I'd like to know, musical family, what were the early sounds and influences of Nick Lane there in the heartland?
Oh yeah, exactly. It's a fairly well, I guess it was musical, but not in a professional way.
Right,
And
right. Well, was it
yeah,
around the
so
house? What kind of things were you listening to
yeah,
early?
my mom and dad met playing flute in the Methodist
What?
Church Orchestra. I think
Oh,
my
how
dad
cool!
only took up the flute just because he saw there was a cute flute player in the orchestra. So I think he harkened back to his high school days when he used to play flute, and found a way to sit next to her. And
See, that's what
that
music's all about, right there. That's
and my dad could fake pretty well on the piano. He was he was pretty good in the key of C.
oh,
So yeah,
those
so
white
no, but
keys.
yeah, we did not have a lot of music in our family. We certainly had a
Huh.
piano, and my older brother, was skilled and gifted in those in those areas. He could play. He was a good pianist, and he played trombone. So
Oh,
that's why
really?
I started on the euphonium, and in fact
Yeah, I was going to
carried
ask
it.
you about that.
Yeah, carried it through. Started Drake University, majoring in
Right.
euphonium. So
Wow.
yeah, I was fairly clueless.
Perfect to eventually have a career as a trombonist. It's kind of a prerequisite for us. It's
Well, trombone was always kind of a like a fallback position. It's
so it was
I only
no, I-
switched from euphonium because for the money and the girls.
folks, we've just started this show and already
Sorry.
my man. No, that's the direction I hope to go. But so wow, so what was high school like? It was euphonium, you were totally euphonium guy, band
Yeah, I mean, I
program or
played in the
no?
jazz band. We were band geeks. There were a bunch of us, and
Yeah.
I had a little
Yeah.
five-horn band, and that we
Huh.
played Chicago and Blood, Sweat, and Tears tunes. And I
Right.
was trying to write, but we didn't have any music classes or anything. So,
Ah.
I had no idea what I was doing. Uh, and
Wow.
but
Self-taught.
yeah, we went for it, and
Wow.
it was exciting.
I think that's one of the best ways to learn. I mean, because you're learning, you're going after it like, ooh, I like this, I want that. It's like, the Beatles traveling across town to find that chord that they heard from that jazz guy, and they want this stuff. That's the best way to learn, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think
Nobody's
so too.
killing
And
that.
I went to
Yeah.
Drake University majoring in euphonium for a couple of years. And, they kind of took me, I really wanted to play, but I didn't really know what that entailed, to be a professional
Uh,
musician. And
uh,
there was a great trombone player in Des Moines named Steve Stewart that had said, you should go to where the musicians are if you want to play, and you should
uh,
go to where the best teacher is, which is really good advice for anybody looking to
Absolutely.
a music career. So I transferred, went out to Boston, Berklee to
Yeah.
study with Phil Wilson, and
See, that
so
was I was
that's
going to ask you who was your guy there. So trombone and composing and arranging. Did you do that with Phil or who?
yeah,
Who?
and really Phil was starting to teach at New England Conservatory at that point. So
Mm,
I had studied with Tony Latta and Tom Plasek at Berklee. But really, the
wow.
guy who had the most influence, I think, if we're talking about, mentors, was
Yeah.
a guy, Herb Pomeroy, was
Oh man.
arranging teacher, a brilliant musician and
Yep.
arranger and teacher. And
Wow.
I learned so much from him. And basically, he's one of those guys that gives you all these techniques and Duke Ellington was his thing.
Oh man.
Analyzing all of that, understanding why Duke did the things he did, and what an
Mm.
amazing band that was. But then once you leave, he goes, forget all the rules and do what you hear, do what you feel.
Oh man, what great advice. And I notice with some students nowadays, not all of them, but occasionally I run into some folks that forget that first part. You got to learn all of the craft and then forget and listen and do your thing. But if you just start out with that, it's you got no language and
Yeah, we spent hours writing out scales for different
uh,
chords in different contexts. What the
wow.
where the tension was. And it seemed really menial and stupid at the time, but it's
Right.
that hammering the basics into you about when you see a chord and you hear it and you know where the tension is, what the potentials are.
Oh man, what a great education. And so many great musicians talk about going where the musicians are. That crowd at Berkeley, thousands of incredible musicians from all walks
Well,
of life.
and when I got there, I don't know if this was the same for you when I went to Drake University and playing euphonium. I didn't have exposure to jazz really, and
Uh-huh.
Maynard's band played our jazz festival in my first year. So he in
Wow.
'73. I'd never heard of Maynard when he had brought the
Wow.
band there in '73, and of course
Yeah.
I was blown away. And but and Thad Jones and Mel Lewis, Thad Jones was kind of the guy as far as the
Yep.
big band thing. But when I
Oh
went out
yeah.
to Boston, I never heard of Charlie Parker, or I didn't know Miles Davis. I hadn't listened to
Right.
John Coltrane. So I was playing catch up. I felt like,
Yep.
oh, these guys know this whole language that I don't. And
I'm right with you,
so,
man. Same thing with
yeah,
me. Yeah, I came up kind of through rock and through Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and everything that was on the radio in the '70s, and then from those guys, oh, who's this JJ? What? Oh, Charlie, who? And then yeah, you
yeah.
start expanding. But it's kind of cool to come from the rock and pop environment to jazz. I think that's kind of hip too.
Well, and it seemed like ignorance. I was leading with ignorance throughout uh, my career, if you can call it that.
That might be
That
a memoir title right there. I don't know. Leading with ignorance. The
or
Nick
at
Lane
least,
story.
yeah, at least naivete. That
Okay,
you
good.
weren't aware of all the things. When I got on Maynard's band, they were listening to Weather Report and Earth, Wind and Fire, and it was like all that was all new stuff to me as well.
Oh,
So, and I
that's
loved it.
exciting. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I didn't know that. I didn't know about. And of course, then when I got the Rod Stewart gig, I had never heard of Rod Stewart, and I
Oh
had no idea.
man.
I had no idea what rock and what, and he wanted to do, Otis Redding and Sam Cooke and Wilson Pickett, and I didn't know anything about those guys either. So
And back in
it felt
those
like,
days, you couldn't pick up your phone and like you had to do
yeah.
some research, you know.
And so I was turned on to all this stuff that I loved, and yet it was this newness thing that it just seemed like everywhere you turn, there's something else really cool. And I think it's still that way. Although I don't know about you, it's a lot of things sound like something that's already happened.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of neo out there, you know. I noticed different it's hard to find something absolutely new like say Jacob Collier or something that's like a woof, this is a new spin. A lot of it comes they say who is they? I don't know. I read an article somewhere that the most popular music of today is the music of the 1970s. So,
And
you know, the
yeah,
most listened to and the most imitated, which is cool because that was a great era. But yeah, that's interesting. I ran into this group called Sungazer. I don't know if you've heard of them. I had no idea. Adam Neely and Sean Crowder, unbelievable, funky, crazy, odd meter, kind of modern sounding thing. But you can hear clearly their roots. You can hear that it's neo 70s once again. But
I'll have to check that out. Yeah,
oh, they're
it seems like
amazing.
I'm always, especially with the YouTube and the proliferation of free music.
Right, right.
There's so much going on, and it's hard to take it all in. I only recently, came across Snarky Puppy, which I guess has been
Right.
around for a decade or two,
Yeah, yeah.
and boy, they did some great stuff. Were you at North Texas when they were there? Was that, were
Yes,
they kind of?
that was right before they hit. When I went to get my my master's, I don't think they were doing it then, but then when I came back and directed the 1 o'clock for a while, that was right before they hit it big. So I had this wonderful student, Sarah Giacovino, a great trombonist and writer, and she brought in this thing she was working on, had this cool groove I'd never heard. I said, "Man, what kind of groove is that?" She goes, "Oh, you know, it's a Snarky Puppy thing." I said, "It's a what?" And that first I'd heard of them, and she was playing in the group at that time, and they were pretty much just in the DFW area. But then, you know, they hit it big, and they are
Yeah.
happening now.
Some great players, and I
Yeah,
guess that's the bottom line. I think when I was coming up, and maybe I mean, you were right on the tail end of that too, or
yeah,
it was a binary choice. You either went to New York or you went to L.A.
sure.
And
Yep.
now it seems like there are great musicians everywhere.
It is. Yeah, I think, you know, this thing we're on right now, the hooking into the internet and everything has really shrunk the world and evened out the playing field and opened the doors for everybody. It's the
Yeah.
best of times and worst of times in many ways. But but the best of times is that I'm here with Nick Lane, so I'll keep going. Okay, so after Berklee, at some point you joined Maynard's band, and 4 years or so. What a unbelievable group you joined too. Was that? Tell me some of the guys that were in there, and tell us about this Maynard thing.
Well, the advice of going where the musicians was
Yeah.
good advice, and I had met a trombone player named Roger Homefield,
Oh,
who had
sure.
who got on Maynard's band, and then there was a guy, Randy Purcell, that had been on Maynard's
Sure.
band for years,
One of
and
my faves.
Randy was retiring and taking a gig in Pittsburgh, and so they needed a trombone, and Roger got me on, and so that was my introduction uh, onto the band. And yeah, it was a killer band.
Wasn't that
We had,
Erskine on there and stuff? And
yeah, Peter was playing, and
oh man,
Gordy Johnson, and
woo,
my some of my good pals, Joe Mazzello and
yeah,
on trumpet,
wow,
and Mike Migliore, Bobby Militello on saxophones. They were in
man, the cat.
Eric Traub and I started at the same
Yes,
time.
really.
So that's right. You worked with some of these guys too. So
Yeah, with
it was,
Eric, I did. They were calling him Zembo Mosk at that time. That was his
that
nickname.
was our very first gig in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, was the
Really?
Zembo Mosque in Harrisburg. And, we had
Wow.
like a, afternoon rehearsal. And then because they had just come back from Europe.
Yeah.
And so they'd been out. Eric and I joined the band, and the first gig was the Zembo Mosque, and the name stuck. And
Isn't that
for the
something?
entire time, Eric was Zembo.
I never called him Eric. I knew that was his name, but it was Zembo. And man, two or three cartoon characters I've devised that stand like him. He had that leaning Tower of Pisa thing, that he did when he didn't stand like a human. He was always Zembo. I
Uh,
hadn't thought about him in a while.
he was a great player, and
Yeah.
I think in a way kind of unheralded. He was not
Yes.
not a self promoting kind of personality. Uh,
Right.
and so he was very much a meat and potatoes. Played time and played great ideas and great changes. He loved to quote classic
Sure did.
jazz things, and yeah, he
Yes.
was great.
I loved him, man. What a great cat. As an aside, that your band early on was the first Maynard band that I saw live. I'd been following him on the record since my band director introduced me. I'd never heard of him either. And then my band director said, typical Southern approach. He goes, "Son, you ever heard this Maynard Ferguson fella? I think you'd like him." And put on something. I forget what it was. And life changing moment. So I went to see him, and there you were. I don't know. Oh, what year would that have been? Like 70? I don't know, but it must have been late 70s. Um,
Yeah, 77 was when I joined, and
yeah,
um,
I bet it was 77 or 78. Yeah.
yeah,
And I
that
remember
was that
you,
was
there was this thing. What's that?
no, it
No,
was a great band.
yeah. Oh man, just killing. And I remember listening, just being blown away by everything. But then you came out, did a wonderful solo and ended it on a double B flat. And I thought, well, listen there. That's a nice thing. I like
I
that. And
I would deny
killing.
that. I can't imagine that happening.
I was there. I'm a witness. It happened, folks. It really did. What a great band. All right, look at this. I got my notes. I got to keep going. Post Maynard. This is like the Actors Studio. Questions now from the audience? No. Post Maynard. Back to L.A. or you moved to L.A. at that point? How did that work?
Yeah, I moved to LA. I was, I tried to give Maynard notice that I was going to leave in the end of
Yeah.
1980, and and of course then he just used it to needle me for the rest of the 2 months I was out on tour with him. I shouldn't have
Uh,
mentioned it, but
yep.
and at that time, Bobby Shue was a trumpet player
Yeah.
in LA, and I met him. He came to one of the Maynard's gigs, and of course Maynard was saying I was moving to LA, so he gives me his number, and he goes, "Call me when you get to town." So in
Wow.
January of '81, when I came to LA, I call him, and he goes, the musicians had been on strike. There was a strike. Everybody, the
Mm,
directors, actors, everybody went on strike when there was the proliferation of cable TV,
right.
and
Right.
everybody settled except the musicians. And uh, so it was a dark time, and Bobby
Yeah.
was saying when I called him, I said, "Yeah, I just got to town." He goes, "Well, the music business is over. I'm going to just play jazz and do clinics and concerts. I'm not even going to
Wow.
bother with sessions anymore." And he was a pretty busy guy at that point,
I'll
and
bet.
that was
Yeah.
disheartening,
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
to say
Welcome to
the
your
least.
career. It's over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to his credit, that's really what he did. He did concerts
Oh,
and clinics and did them really well. Uh,
oh
but
man.
when I hear people say, "Oh, when the music business is over," I always think back to
Right.
1981 when Bobby told me that, and it was like, not so much.
Not really. Not really. No. It's we're always told that. Many times we feel that, but life finds a way. We keep it going somehow. It's challenging nowadays with music being free. Not the best business model, but
No, and
it can
and
be
the
done.
idea of trying to monetize music is, I have not figured that out, and I
Uh,
guess I don't. really want to, but you seem to
Right,
be
right.
stepping out there and taking technology where it needs to go. So
Well, I'm working on that. It seems to me to be. I've got some friends and mentors that consider technology as a tool. If you learn how to use the tool correctly,
right.
as opposed to being scared of it or upset at it, and AI falls into that category too. So, if we can leverage it, and use it like any other tool, it's like it's a spatula for serving music somehow.
Nice.
Boom. Thank you. Uh, yeah. So, okay. Well, you're in LA, and then at some point, you hook up with Rod Stewart, and you start. Well, no, in LA, you started the Bone in the USA thing first, right? Was that before you
Well,
hit the road
I
again?
didn't. Yeah, I didn't really know anybody in LA. Everybody from Maynard's band had gone to New York, and
Uh,
I kind of wanted to go to New York too, except that I saw the conditions they were living in, and
yep.
in New York, like Broadway is a great gig, Broadway
Right.
show, and
That's it.
I didn't have any aspirations to play Broadway. So I headed to LA and uh, didn't really know anybody, and did some rehearsal bands. You do the usual thing, but
Sure.
so I put a band together because I had written a lot of charts. So I put a nine horn funk band together and
Yeah.
called guys up to invite them to play with me,
Wow.
and so that was, and then that led to an ill-fated album. It was before CDs,
Oh,
and
I think
it was
it's a great album. It's going to be on the lightning round, so watch out. I know.
oh,
Yeah. Right.
it's well, and I did a radio show with Jeff Babco just recently celebrating its 40th anniversary. So
Wow. That's
yeah,
incredible. Well, that's scary.
well,
40.
so that was at the time we were going for it, even though we didn't know
Yeah.
what it was.
Right.
And I think that put me out there. I was not interested in playing swing, and I was doing some big band stuff with Matt Cat and Goob had a great band at
Oh,
that
yeah.
time, and
Sure.
so I was doing some of that. But I really was looking for something more contemporary,
Yeah.
and uh, so Paul Anka had a new album out and put a band together out of L.A. And I
Ah.
was part of that. And Michel Colombier was the musical director and
Ah.
arranger,
Uh,
and that was a good experience for about 6 8 months. And then from that, the Rod Stewart gig came out of
oh,
nowhere, and
oh,
so
wonderful.
that was. Yeah, that was a fluke. Everything was kind of a fluke, and as I say, once again, I had
Yeah.
no idea what I was getting into, but it was fun.
Oh, man. I look at it as leading a charmed life, you are.
Well,
Uh,
and that's one of my fallback positions. It's better to be lucky than good. So,
you know? And then, see, and I'm not pandering to the guest here, when you're lucky and good, ta-da. And that's the Nick Lane story right there.
well, yeah. What's the old cliche about opportunity is the combination of what preparation or something, and
Right. Yep.
or, so you have to be ready because the door is going to open at some point.
Right. Absolutely. And you have to have the goods when it does and be ready, and you have to actually go for it. And something like Bone in the USA, making a scene, inviting the cats, which, by the way, is one of the great titles. See, if Maynard would just listen to you, he would have had some great titles.
If only.
Bone, if only. Oh man. So then, oh, you know what? Before we get past the Rod Stewart thing, I have a shout out, a hello from one of your old buddies, Mr. Chick. Michael Chickowitz says hello. He was
Oh,
with you. Yeah. Well, he said you could tell some stories about him that we would not be able to publish, but uh, I
he was, yeah, he's a bit of a, this is what they call legends. As you get older,
yeah,
this would be
he
the
is
legend
right.
of Mike Chickowitz, really.
Right. And I've known him in the periphery for a while, but then last night, he's got this band, Tribute Asaurus, that
Oh,
does these amazing tribute concerts. And last night we had a 3 hour rehearsal doing Chicago, and
oh,
which will lead me to another point is that with you being Jimmy's sub, Great googly moogly. The face it requires and the air it requires to play more than one of those tunes back to back is that'll change your life right there. It's like, wait a minute, I thought I was in shape, man. You
Exactly.
know,
I
oh
did 3 weeks
man.
in Mexico. I just got
Ah,
back last week, and it was
wow.
fun to do. We did 8 shows. It was fun to do that many shows. Usually, if I
Yeah,
just go out and fill in for a weekend or something, you hit the ground running. The guys have been out for a while, and it's hard
yeah,
to just drop in. It's a lot of playing. Jimmy
yeah, it
has
is.
created a gig. It's in a lot of ways, it's very intelligently written. It's not all high stuff,
Right,
um,
right.
but it's a lot of metal against flesh, and
Woo,
metal
it sure is
always
because
wins that
yes,
battle.
it does every time. Yeah, because when it climbs up, you're staying in the D's and C's range when it goes up there, and then thankfully it does go lower. But so all right, this is earlier than I was going to ask, but let's deal with this 20 plus careers you've been associated with the band longer than Terry Kath did at the beginning. Really, if you think of it that way,
Wow.
if you think of it that way, but.
Well,
Uh,
but it's not even my gig. That's the greatest thing about it is that
right. You go out, you go home, you go out, you get to go home. That must be incredible. And of course, we have a friend in common with Ray Herman. He and I went to school at North Texas together, and he'd just been my brother for so long. That must just be a blast. But here's a question for you: how long did it take you to memorize that book? I mean, damn, was that quick? Are you a
yeah,
good
I
memorizer?
yeah, that it's interesting. I had done the Chicago gig with Earth, Wind, and Fire when they first went out back in
Ah,
2007 or something, and memorizing those songs is hard because the chord changes are the same. The horn licks change, but it's like you have to memorize what horn lick comes next. Whereas
right.
the Chicago stuff, the horns are sort of a integral part of the
Yep.
song.
Right.
So it in some ways I thought it was easier
Hmm.
memorizing the Chicago stuff because it was you're playing the chorus, whatever the opening of. Does anybody know what time it is? Bum, 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 bum. That doesn't ever happen again. So you
Right.
zero in on stuff as opposed to trying to remember which lick goes over the same four
Ah,
chord changes.
right. That must be tough. Oi. Did another thing I've wondered just watching from the audience is that did you have to have a choreography discussion? I mean, running all over the stage. When are you here? When are you there? Or you just pick it up?
The first time that I watched the band, I had memorized this stuff. And I had done like a 45-minute corporate set in Palm Springs when I first
Uh,
filled in. And
Oh,
so
okay.
it was just a few songs, so, and then by the time I flew out to Caesars in Atlantic City and I watched one show and then dropped in. And, Jimmy is such a personality on
Yeah.
stage, and
Amazing. Yeah.
he has a thing, a joie de vivre that
Ooh.
it's like I learned the notes, but I can't do all those moves. So
Right. Yeah.
I
Nobody.
left
That's
that,
his thing,
yeah,
man. Yeah.
I left that to him. But and as a player, you would know this too. He's never had to compromise. He never had to. Well, I mean, maybe early on he had to play "I'm Getting Sentimental Over You," like
Right.
we had to. But
Right.
playing in an orchestra, he can do all that stuff. But for his whole career, basically, he's played it the way he heard it,
Isn't that
and
amazing? Yeah.
they kind of followed him. Lee and
Right.
Walt were such great musicians too, but
Yeah.
I think they followed him for the phrasing, and so
Yeah.
it's very. I mean, obviously, it's very bonistic,
It is.
but
That's the
he
beauty of the gig.
plays in a way that is hard to emulate because
Mm.
he has evolved individually from the realities that we have confronted
Right.
as studio sausages willing to do whatever it took.
Right.
Jimmy's
Right.
had a
Yeah.
pretty strong idea of what it ought to be. and
Right.
it's great.
Like
It's a great gig.
instantly recognizable style and sound is not many folks that are that individual. Oh, listen, Jimmy's in the background. You can hear him. It's
when, when he complains to me about how hard the gig is, I kind of say, I know, but I'm not sympathetic because you have nobody to blame but yourself.
that's right. You did it, man. That's great. That is excellent. Oh man. Okay. Well, where were we? Okay. More personal stuff here. I got to ask you, how was it to work? One of my heroes musically was and is Gino Vanelli. The first thing that I arranged for Maynard way back in the day, right after you left, about a year later, I came on, and one of the first charts I did was "Brother to Brother" and wrote it up for the band. It was never recorded, but I thought they sounded great on it. So I've always loved him. How was it? You've recorded a live thing with him and went on the road. How was that? Is he personable cat, or what was that like?
Well, he seems like a really great guy. I wasn't there long enough to really know, but
Yeah.
certainly the legacy of his music, and his brothers were still involved. They
Ah,
obviously it was a musical intelligence that they
yeah.
transmitted into popular music that was very cool. What was that, like was that late 70s, or was that early 80s?
Late 70s to early 80s. Yeah, because I was listening to it when I was out with Maynard. So
That
that would have
stuff
been the
was
early
cutting edge
80s.
harmonically,
Yeah.
very cool stuff. And he still sings great, and
Wow. What a
he had that
voice.
very narrow mustache, and I'm always a little intimidated by that.
It is a scary look. Yeah.
What is that? Like a pencil mustache or something?
Yeah.
Kind of a.
Yeah. You have to have an unbelievably serious beard to pull that one off. My whole thing is like if you like brushed glue on my face and then if I stuck my head into a bowl of like fluffy down of some kind, that's my beard. It's just like this little light
But
thing.
it softens your hard edge.
Oh, thank you. That's nice to hear. That's better than what I usually say. It gives me a chin, but I like
Ah,
that better. It softens my hard edge. That's excellent. All right, I'm going to steal that. Hey, all right. Well, it's a trombone show, so at some point we got to do a little trombone. So here's some trombone questions for you. What is the Nick Lane setup? What's the equipment? I see something back there. What do we got? What's
oh
the
yeah.
preferred?
It's a King. I still play a King 3B.
My
I bought
man.
it from Bob McChesney, 45 years
Wow.
ago, and every time I see him, he wants it back. So, but he's
There it
not
is.
getting it. It's still a great horn. I have several, but I play a Yamaha copy of an 88H for my brass quintet stuff, and
Oh,
I have a
cool.
Getzen bass trombone that makes me sound. I can play the notes, but I'm not sure that I
Right.
sound like a bass trombonist.
I
But
wish I had
and
some of
I
that.
have always used a Bach 11C.
Wow.
Um, so it's. But now I had some swelling a few years ago, and I now use
Mhm.
a Doug Elliott
Ah.
mouthpiece with a Lexan plastic rim
Oh,
that
cool.
that I really like. I don't know what the number is on it, but
Right.
it's one of those cup rim kind of combos that basically simulates probably an 11C.
All right. Sure. Sounds like it's very comfortable to play that mouthpiece.
It is. I For some reason I had an allergy to gold. I really think it was.
Ah.
We were doing a brass band for U2 was going out on the road doing that Joshua
Wow.
Tree
Oh
album,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
they had a song where they used a British brass band, something about
Wow.
a mill company or something. Anyway,
Yeah.
Bono couldn't sing it. It was in G, and Bono couldn't do it in G anymore, so they had to do it in F. So
Yeah.
we had to redo the entire brass band,
Oh
which
man.
so I was playing euphonium and tuba parts and French horn parts, just
Woo.
covering it, doubling, doing all these parts,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
my chops kind of swelled up and didn't unswell,
Oh.
and so I went to an allergist, and I thought it was the universe telling me I should give up,
Right,
but
right.
it wasn't, or
Or
may
or
have been.
or become a Kardashian or something. If the lips swell up
Yeah,
enough, it's a look.
I didn't take the hint. It felt like I had like one of those orangutan, those big red butts right there on the front of my face. It was
Woo!
not a good look.
Talk about an individual style. Oh yeah, man, I love that cat with the orangutan butt face. That's a
Yeah,
great.
butt face. Yeah. Anyway, I like the Lexan, the plastic rim, and
Yeah, yeah.
I have it for all my horns now. I have a 5G for the classical horn and the 1.5 AL
Wow.
or whatever those things are. The big one for bass.
Well, if you take that beautiful equipment and everybody personalizes their thing, what will we find if we went into the Nick Lane shed on a daily basis? What's going on in the Nick Lane shed?
Well, as far as practicing,
Yeah, daily
I,
regime, practice,
yeah,
whatever.
as somebody, I'm embarrassed to say that I have not purchased the CD that Ralph Sauer did with
Oh, right.
the duets. I think they were the Remington duets that he had recorded. So
Mm,
I do those long tone duets with Ralph
wow.
because it reminds me of what a trombone is supposed to sound like.
Right. Oh
And
man.
then I've sequenced out a bunch of things. I just hit play, and the Irby Green method that he put together for an hour. I think it was an hour a day or something when he had a day off. These were the exercises he did. So it's a lot of tonguing and lip slurs and
Oh man.
arpeggios
Basic.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I try to get through that. That takes me almost an hour to do.
Yeah.
As we were talking about the lunch with Charlie Loper earlier,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, it, it, a lot of times I ask the guys, the older guys, what it takes to keep their chops in shape, and they're
Right. Yeah.
basically saying, for what I hardly get around to practicing because my warm up routine ends up being an hour long just to feel comfortable,
That's
and
interesting to
sometimes
hear. I find myself doing that too. It's my wife can attest to that. She probably I need to go hear you play because all I hear is the warm up. It's like all day long if I'm taking breaks. But yeah, I find that too. It takes forever for maintenance to do it right.
yeah, and I as much as that helps me, I never used to practice that much.
Mm,
When maybe you're the same way when you're playing all the time,
right.
you don't have to practice, and I still haven't really locked in on what I can do at home that translates into a live gig situation.
Oh, it's almost impossible. I remember Doc Severinsen used to tell me that there's no way to practice the gig. It's always so different no matter what you do in a practice. I mean, I felt that last night doing all those Chicago tunes. I'd worked on the notes. I tried to play everything like 10 times in a row to simulate. Nope. You get there on the gig and it's totally different.
Yeah, yeah, and you step out and there's an audience, and suddenly
Well, yeah.
you go into this overdrive, and I mean it's
Oof.
fun when you're in shape to
Yeah.
do that. I mean it was the same on Maynard's band, don't you think? When
Right.
you were
Yeah.
playing, I mean
Oh, it was
they
Adrenaline
played
City. Yeah.
and they played at a volume level. When I first joined, I was not
Yep.
prepared to play as loud as everyone was playing around me, and
It was like riding a lightning bolt to play with that band. And as you know, swapping fours with Maynard and stuff and standing next to him was, what is this?
well, and when I was playing with him, you could probably relate to this too. That Maynard was not a practicer.
Oh,
He
yeah,
was not
not at all.
as
Yep.
opposed to like a Doc Severinsen, since they
Right.
were almost peers at that time or came up together in
Yep.
Charlie Barnett's band. Doc was always meticulous in his approach and practice, and Maynard was sort of a physical freak that he could just blow through it.
Right. Yeah.
And by the time I remember Maynard turned 50 when I was on the band, which I
Wow.
thought was really old.
Now
But
that's a thing, isn't it? Nowadays, that seems pretty young.
but he doesn't practice, and so he would, it'd take him a few days to blow himself into shape, and he would get there. But
Right.
I became kind of aware that he wasn't really able to play technical things, maybe as I felt like he could have in the past. As far as just even holding a straight tone, he would
Right.
go to that vibrato, and he would be doing the
Yeah.
that kind of
The
deal.
snake thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was not a fan of that as much,
Yeah.
and just tried to get him to play straighter. And the whole concept of, you got to have low notes so that the high notes sound high.
Right.
It has
Right.
to high is relative,
And
and
he
if you
had such a great low register. I used to love when he would do that, like Christmas for Moderns or something. When he'd go way down low, it's just
yeah, he could do that. We did
yeah.
that thing with just an orchestra, an offering of love, I think, on the "It's
Oh, it
My
was
Time"
gorgeous.
album,
Yes,
where we
gorgeous.
all played live in this, with the orchestra and the flutes, and he played the flugelhorn, and
Yeah.
it was magical. It was catching lightning in a bottle kind of thing. And
Was that your arrangement? Who did that?
yeah, it was an Indian. Uh, uh, I guess it was a dedication to Sai Baba with his offering
Right.
of love. Maynard always was
Right.
wanting to do an Indian song, and so this was a
Right.
bit of a compromise, but it was a regular song.
It was
Uh,
beautiful.
chord
We were
changes.
using it. Yeah, I don't know if you guys did it. This is where it came from. But when I first started, the show would the crowd, the lights would go off, and they would pipe that in, that recording and offering to love, and that would happen right before we'd start with Blue Birdland, and I was blown away. I just thought that was the most beautiful thing. So I know what you're
Well,
talking about.
and that was the flugelhorn, and that was Maynard playing, trying to keep him in a lower register. And
Right.
his whole thing was always ballad playing.
Yeah.
He could
Yeah.
interpret a melody, and he was so great at it, and a little theatrical. That was
Yep. Yep.
definitely a performance aspect to it. But
Right. Right.
uh, it became frustrating after a while with just the whole high note thing is it's kind of a, I don't know what it is, like a bizarre. I guess as a trombone player or as trombonist, I don't want to drag you into this, but
Well,
it's not quite our thing, and so you kind of look at it and go, "What is that? That everybody goes crazy over these high notes?"
right. Yeah, because when you do it on trombone, it sounds like a low trumpet. So people are like, next, this is not impressive. What do you, the trombonist might think it's impressive, but
It's
yeah.
funny, and there is a bunch of guys, and you are a very exciting kind of player. So I'm not taking
Oh,
anything
well,
away,
thanks. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
for some reason the I don't know if it's a high note. It's like a fetish or something. These people they like should be
Right.
wearing rubber suits and fuzzy outfits. It's like weird,
That would fit in with many crowds these days. Hey, you know what? All right. Now we have to end. But before we do, I'm going to just drop on you tunes, four of them, and then you get to comment, tell us a little something. Um,
Okay.
so I'll just mention a tune from your oeuvre, and
Hi.
I know, right? I had to practice that word for today. Um, and
Well
it's
done.
right here. Look, here's the lightning round right here. Let's begin the lightning round. Oh, that's very cool. That's worth having video just for that moment. All right, it's Born in the USA. Here we are. I chose Big and Hairy because damn, that's so funky. Did you write that? First off, it seems like I bet you did. Big and
I
Hairy?
did. Yeah, that was the last thing that we did on that project, and by
Ah,
that time, that was the horn section that I was working with Jimmy Zavala on sax and Lee Thornburg on trumpet, and
oh
so we
man.
did a track. We did a track with that horn section that we had done Rod Stewart and then Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. So
Wow.
I included but I was experimenting with a drum machine in those days, and it has
That's you
that.
on the drum machine. I thought it
Yeah,
was
so
like
that,
synth drums, a guy playing it. So look at you. You can write
well,
drums.
but,
That's great.
and Luis Conte came in and played percussion on it.
Wow.
And interesting about this track is that he did a percussion solo, and then I wrote a horn solo to his percussion solo.
Oh,
So
man. Okay,
the
that
percussion
explains.
solo came first, and then we played, riffs to his
Ah,
percussion.
how cool. Well, that explains a lot of the personality in this track. We're going to check it out right now. Now you know the story behind it, folks. Here is Bone in the USA, the famous album celebrating over 40 years in the in the world. Here's Big and Hairy. the next one here on the lightning round. I'm waiting for your look. You got to do the thing. See how spoiled I get. You're okay. Everybody's gonna have to do that now. I'm gonna say with the video, you got to pose for the lightning when that happens. This thing, oh my gosh, I love this. Personally, this is some of my favorite stuff. I've heard you do songs for the Heartland. I chose Home on the Range. And first off, I got to ask, are you like a Vince Mendoza fan, or is it just naturally what you did? Because it reminds me a little of his writing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
with
his stuff
Yellow
was
Jackets,
yeah, his stuff was so great. We, I had a buddy back in Iowa who was trying to resurrect uh, Marshalltown, and there's a big,
Uh,
town square and a courthouse, and so his concept was to do a music festival on the courthouse square in August,
ah,
uh, sweet corn harvest time, so it was supposed to be, the all things Midwest, all things Marshalltown, all things Central Iowa, whatever.
oh,
So I was trying to write music. We had an orchestra, and a chorus, and yeah, we did it for 7 summers to raise music or raise
oh,
money for
yeah.
scholarships to send a couple of local kids to Tanglewood Music Camp.
Oh, sure.
So the
Lenny was
music was
still
a
alive at that point, I think, maybe. Was Bernstein
yeah. I'm
still?
not sure. It's well, whatever. It was a fun
Yeah.
project. I'm not that much of a salesman, so I feel like I may have dropped the ball in it becoming a great music festival. But it
Ah,
created some great music, and
oh
yeah, it was
man,
sure
did it
fun to do.
ever? So I've got logistical questions and stuff. Now we know a little bit about the writing. So when did you start writing for orchestral settings? Was that just something you did initially, or over the years, or
Well, I mean, I learned how to write for strings through Maynard. That offering of
hmm,
love was with an
right?
orchestra. We would do
Beautiful.
strings. We added strings on things in the '70s. They were,
Right.
putting strings were sweetening, so we would put strings on, on a Naima. A lot of those things. Kind of, I think Klaus Ogerman was probably my greatest inspiration
What
for
a
the use
great
of
cat.
strings
Yeah.
in pop music.
Right.
And so that yeah, that was an extension uh, of commercial music with strings. Some of his stuff is breathtaking,
It
and
really is. That's a good point, man. It's what was the what were the logistics? So was this still a group of Iowa musicians, or you did this in LA when you recorded this thing?
well,
How did you
we
put that together?
yeah, so we would do it each summer. I started off with the song of the Heartland,
Yeah.
uh, and with the choir and the orchestra, and then each summer I would write another piece. And so
Ah,
we ended up having this CD's worth of material. Tried to record it in Iowa, but the logistics were too difficult, and
hmm.
so could do it here in LA at the Eastwood stage at Warner Brothers,
Wow.
and knock it out. So it fell a little short with having it as much Iowa content as I was hoping. We used the
Yeah.
choir from Iowa State University, but
Ah,
so there's lots of Iowa folks on it, even folks in LA here who are from Iowa. So
ah.
we tried to get the Midwestern thing going.
Absolutely. Well, let's hear some of it. It's Home on the Range is the one I chose. This is your own personal Aaron Copland, Nick Lane, writing about the heartland. Here's Home on the Range.
Well, thank you, Steve. That's nice. I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate the music, just getting to hear it. All
Well,
right.
it is, and it is a ripoff of Aaron Copland. So what's the line?
You can't go
Amateurs
wrong with that.
borrow. Yeah,
That's
amateurs borrow and professionals steal.
in that case, my friend, you and I are highly professional. I'll speak for myself. That's what I do when I write something. I go listen to everybody else. Ooh, I want that. I want that. I go grocery shopping and
Yeah.
well, what a beautiful piece, man. And Aaron Copland, great googly moogly, that guy. I just love his music. But let's dive into some jazz. We got two more things here on the lightning round. I don't even have to ask anymore, man. It's time for some Smith named Greg here, Smith and Lane project, and I chose Blues for Buddy. And we'll listen to that in a sec. Great solo by you, my friend. So was it your composition or Greg's? Who wrote this one?
Actually, that's Greg's. Greg spent some time after his Stan Kenton days. He spent some time with Buddy Rich, and Greg was fairly irascible. So he and Buddy kind of had a meeting of the minds. So he had done a blues tune the whole concept of that band. It was Greg's concept to do a B3 trio, organ trio with Barry and trombone. So we really had fun. Yeah, we had fun doing it, and the whole concept was to do it, not rehearse, just turn the recording on and play, and to catch that energy. It's so often. I don't know about you, but here in L.A., so often the best take is the first take.
Oh man, almost always. Yep.
In a lot of cases, the engineers aren't quite ready, and so they all automatically say, "Let's do another one." And it's sort of that feeling of we keep doing it until it's like, well, let's play it till we get it wrong.
Well, I've got a thing. I know which take it's going to be. Whichever take I didn't like my solo, boom, that's going to be the take every time.
Well, it's hard, and it's hard to get up, and I think that's one of the art of recording is to bring it every time. And
right,
I can't say that I have that, but I know others do.
Right. Well, here I'll do a Pete Chrisley. Chrisley. Yeah, I did a session with Frank Mantooth once here in Chicago, and Pete was the soloist on the tune, played this unbelievable solo, and then you hear from the booth, we didn't get that. Can we do another one? And Pete goes, yeah, sure, and do another one. It's a better solo, and then Tooth gets on and says, Pete, I'm sorry, man, but the trumpets missed a lot of stuff, and they're like, hey, no, we didn't. We got to do another take, and Pete's like, okay, sure, yeah, and kills another solo. I mean, every time. So yeah, bringing it every time,
and probably each one different as well.
Yeah, completely different, man. What a freakishly good cat, man. I love him.
Yeah, he's very much a legend for all the right reasons.
Yes, absolutely. Pete Chrisley. Well, here in the land of jazz is Greg's composition Blues for Buddy from Smith and Lane, the wonderful organ, what would it be, a quartet, I guess, trio.
No, organ trio, and it's a quintet,
yeah. Well, it's beautiful. And don't just take my word for it, folks. Here it is, Blues for Buddy.
This, oh,
There he is. He's still here, and yet we're still, ladies and gentlemen, in the lightning round. You know, you don't want to overdo the shtick.
oh, sorry. I was just imagining that the stillness that jazz can bring to a moment.
Oh yeah, contemplative. Yes, it's
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
tune. My wife Deborah and I were discussing this the other day. The CBS show Sunday Morning always ends one of their bits with silence, and it's a variation of the sun. It's a picture of the sun, artwork, boom. And I always say that's the national moment. It's like you finish this beautiful bit, the sun comes up, and all over the land, people are going, huh. Yeah. Huh. It's like the reaction. Well, it was funny when I mentioned it to Deborah, but that's the beauty of this software. I'll put in some laughter, smattering.
Okay. You got that.
Well, we got to end the lightning round with hits, and that is, if anybody has a hit in the world of writing music, it's your rendition of the Joe Zawinul Birdland. So here's Maynard Ferguson land now, and your chart on Birdland. I think there's some stories involved with this chart. I don't know how many you can share, but what was this like? So you picked this out of the air. Erskine had not been with Weather Report yet. He was just a fan or something. And
No,
how did this come
and
about?
I was new on the band, and
Uh,
Maynard already had a writer who was doing all his writing, and so he wasn't looking for charts. And as you remember, we rehearse one day and then
right,
go out for 3 months. So the
right.
time to bring in charts was on that first day. And
Uh-huh.
so I had brought a couple of charts in and nothing, of course. And so I brought in Birdland and we played it once. And, the band basically kind of butchered it. It really wasn't a reading band.
Right,
And
right.
we never played it again. And it got back to me. The guys in the band wanted to play it, but
Hmm.
Maynard didn't. And it got back to me that several years earlier, I guess, I never saw the article, I guess maybe in Downbeat or something.
Uh,
They'd interviewed Joe Zawinul and Wayne
uh,
Shorter, who I guess had briefly played with Maynard in the 60s and
right.
had disparaging things to say about him.
Oh
So
boy.
Maynard had no interest in playing Joe Zawinul's song. And
Right,
even when
right.
we played it and recorded it, it went over really well and it was perfect for Maynard. Uh,
Yeah. Oh,
and he, and
absolutely.
and he deconstructed it, he opened it up for a bass solo and what he usually does,
Right, right.
and takes it apart. It used to frustrate me when he
Yeah.
would dissect the chart.
Well, yeah, you come
And
back later when they've been on tour and it's like, who wrote this? What? That's my chart. Wait.
yeah, and then he goes, well, we're going to record it, and so we need it to be 4.5 minutes long. And it's like,
Oh,
well, now you've turned it into a 15-minute odyssey, and now we got to cut it down to
yeah.
so uh, it, it was cut up in a way that I'm not that thrilled with. But when we
Uh,
did it live, as much as it frustrated me in retrospect, the takeaway, what I learned was that is the essence of jazz, is
ah,
to deconstruct something, to have
right,
it
right.
open, and
Oh, that's
to open
perfect.
it up and explore something else. And
Yeah,
so the
yeah.
recorded version, I think, falls short of what we used to do live.
Oh, right. Well, we're going to play it anyway, uh, but use your imagination, folks. What would this have sounded like live, opened up? And yeah, I've seen that and experienced it myself and that is, I couldn't agree with you more. The essence of jazz is that aspect, and that was what,
Unfortunately, this chart is not the essence of jazz, and Peter has told me since that Joe Zawinul didn't like it, and
ah, well,
because
now we're going to feature it on,
so I guess my
oh,
work is done.
yeah, I guess. Ay, ay, ay. That's crazy. Well, okay, let me soothe you a little bit, is that it has become the gateway 2 weather report for many a young student. They heard this first. That led them to the oeuvre once again of Joe Zawinul. So that was a good thing. And it has become an absolute classic on the band. And as I sent you a little thing, everybody's tried to deconstruct your chart and use pieces of it. And they did that as they had a little hits medley, and it would always have to have parts of Birdland. And and then
you did a great reconstruction of it. It was
well, thanks.
way beyond anything I could have done. So it was that
I
was
don't know about
amazing.
that. I just had fun with it, but I remember, Chris Brayman, the trombonist, and I were the section for a long time after you had left. And we used to have competitions, see who could go the longest without chipping the A flat to start the melody. He would always win. I'd be like, squoing the day.
Oh, and there was that little ba-ba-lop in there.
That's, yeah. Woo, you got to get ready for that like 5 measures ahead of time. It's coming up.
We were young then. What can I say?
I know. At that point, we were mostly still cartilage. We could do anything. But, all right, well, here's what we're talking about. This is Nick Lane's classic arrangement of the Joe Zawinul composition that Nick put together for Maynard. Here's one of the incarnations of Birdland. Boom, the kids go nuts. Oh,
Thank
you,
and now Steve.
We're back. Well, my pleasure, my goodness. And now comes the saddest part of the show where we have to wrap it up. I'm having too much fun. You got to come out. If I'm ever out in LA, I'll give you a text or something and say, where are you at?
Please do.
And if you come out here, likewise, we'll hang deep dish and Guinness or something. I don't know, whatever you're into. Well, maybe it's just coffee and a bagel, something. But
well, good luck with Tributosaurus. Sounds like that'll be fun.
Oh, that's going to be a blast, man. Every trombonist on the planet, Jimmy is just their hero, myself included. So that stuff's, it's just like the soul of trombone right there, I think, with Jimmy.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. And I'll tell Sir Chick that you said hello.
Yeah, give him my best.
I will. And he'll hear this, and he'll be very glad that we were gentle with his reputation and didn't tell all that story.
Yes, his legend is intact.
Oh, good. Yes. Well, we don't want to, there's the whole probation thing that he's on. We don't want to screw that up, with the whole prison term and all that stuff. But, it has been a pleasure, my brother. Much love to you, and thanks for all the magic voodoo that you've been doing for a little while now, man. I appreciate it.
Great to hang with you, Steve, and thank you for letting me put my mug on your site.
Woo! You're the first video guy, man. Everybody's got a lot to live up to now. I tell you what.
Yeah, it's setting the bar high.
That's it. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to. We lead with naivete and set the bar high. This title's getting better and better for your memoir.
And we have closure.
Yes, and scene. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
sir.
Steve.
WCBC Wiest World. You Dig is a production of Wiest World Productions 2026.
Yeah, well, I like the new name, but, you're still not talking fast enough, man. That's lame.